everyone. Welcome to the Skye and JJ Raw podcast. Hey, JJ.
Hey, how are you? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it as always. And welcome to everyone here live and watching the replay. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. And today we are going to talk more about mindset and to stop owning disease. I was actually sick most of my life, 32 years. I've had over 60 surgeries, 7 major organs removed. JJ had massive pain that left her body and weight loss when she went and started eating raw. Hey, Tessa.
Hey,
Um,
Tessa.
and we both love talking mindset. Like mind is how you stay on this lifestyle. But this is a great topic, JJ. Do you want to open?
Yes, I think that something that we do, but we don't even realize we're doing it. So, this is one of the things that I think all of us really had to work on when we came into this lifestyle because we were expecting a lot of the things we dealt with, some people even to more extreme than others. But even with me, these things I had going on, seasonal allergies, back pain, they were just things that I thought I was just going to live with forever. So we really have to be careful when we talk about things that are symptoms of something else. But like, I didn't know these things were symptoms of what I was eating. So people, I think, get really caught up in my back pain, and we start owning these things that are going on with us like it's part of who we are. When in reality, now I know and you know that those things that we were dealing with were temporary. Sometimes it may take longer, but I truly believe in my heart when we know the root cause of things, we can start to change our life. And we have to also change our mindset to remember that now we are wanting to speak health into our life and not continue with the dis-ease that our body had, both mentally, both body wise. And I think that's one of the things, being aware of it is really important.
Yeah, I think going on to this lifestyle, I really realized not just what you eat, you become what you think you become. And I remember when I was really sick, and a lot of my life, if I got anywhere, was in a hospital or around a doctor or a conversation. I was in pain. So I would talk about pain. And that really builds who you are and solidifies the disease in the body. And I think when I went raw, I had been had the FND. I couldn't read or write. I'd been disconnected from a lot of people, and I'm eating food and getting out in the sunshine and getting in water, and I'm not around many people. And when I start getting around people, because I couldn't really watch television, so my only input is nature, right?
Mhm.
And I get around people and I realize how quickly you become what you're around.
Mhm.
And it really reminds me of why I know some doctors say when you're sick, don't go to, like, if you have, don't go to support groups, okay? Because you can get caught up in continually telling yourself that you have a disease. So for me, chronic pain was massive for me. I never went to a support group because I was in too much pain. But if you start going and you go 3 times a week, it's the only thing you do. And everyone that becomes your friend is in chronic pain. And all you do is talk about, I had this pain today. I had that. It's all, it's
What
the
medicine
brain.
am I taking?
Yeah, what, oh, you're trying that. I'll see my doctor. I'll take that. Your whole world not only had already been pain, but another layer of it. And I just don't know whether people realize how much it's a trap. I was talking on my live last night how one of the hardest things to do, including my story, is to overcome disease because the brain is so conditioned to have it. So you can take away an ailment with somebody, but most people's lives don't completely change because, like in my case, I was sick from when I was like 16 nonstop. How do you rewire a brain? And the more that I keep saying, I have chronic pain, I have all of these problems, and then keep hanging around people, only get in support, like be in 20 support groups on Facebook, only talk to people, you stay there. And a huge part, even more so than that physical ailment, is finding a healthy you.
Mhm. I
So
totally agree. And I want to say hello to, I'm so happy to see you here, Diana Varner. Diana Varner, Plant Based. We haven't seen you in a while. I know you're, recovering, getting back on Facebook and social media. And again, hi, Tessa. Thank you both for being here. Um, I think you're exactly right. And that's why I always say it's so important to come to things like this. If you're interested in learning about raw food and the vegan diet, go into groups that are talking about that, really. And if you're trying to immerse yourself in a lifestyle, people who have changed, who have healed themselves, everybody has something different necessarily going on. But one thing that this community has a lot of, and I mean, even a greater amount of people in the raw community, is the amount of amazing transformational stories. And it's like being around people who are giving you hope, who are also find a community you resonate with, like we've talked about before. If you're younger, maybe there are people that are at around your age, but like a lot of the communities have people of all different ages, and women and men, and find someone that resonates with you as a guide. And also that it's a community that allows you to be where you are and answers your questions. And like this, your page is a perfect example of that. I love the way you take us along in your health journey, discover what you've learned. And when we come on here, that's what it's for, so that we can interact. That's why we do this live and answer your questions, because when you're new, like, trust me, everyone has the same amount of questions, and the same questions we all did. Where do we get protein? Is this going to be right? We start to find normalizing bad eating. I'm making a video right now, and in the recording of it, I just listened to the part where I'm editing. It said it's easier to get a group of people to go for fast food than it is to go for salads and fruit. It's hard to get people in your regular day-to-day life excited about this, because they start owning your disease for you too. Your friends and family, that's what they know of you, and that's what they've identified as a lot of your life. So if you've been sick or ill for a lot of your life, you almost need to branch out. And like, the great thing about Zoom and YouTube and Facebook and everything now is you can find those people that can support and encourage your healing.
yeah, I think there's a real, it's on Gillian Berry's story at the moment. If you become friends with 5 confident people and you hang around them all the time, you will become the 6th. And it's the same if you constantly hang around sick people, 5 sick people who constantly talk about being sick. I promise you'll start showing up talking about any aches or pains that you have. But like you said, if you join the community and find people that uplift you, it doesn't even have to be in the community, people that bring your spirit up, make you bring out the good things in your life. You will start to see them. And it's not just right now, is then when you leave the house, you have no idea how consciousness is completely formed by what we ingest, by what we see every day. Is if you've constantly been watching videos about thriving, being uplifting, living your dreams, happiness. When you go outside, mostly what you see will be the lens of what you have put mostly inside of you. Of course, other things come up, but we want to stay away from, the amount. I'm going to be honest here is when I've coached people, I get them to, when I start working with them, write down everything that they've got wrong with them, right? And it's a long list, right, at the start. Very quickly, when you eat raw foods, a lot of that list goes. But some people will show up to group calls or coaching calls and constantly focus on still what's wrong. So they may have they might have 50 symptoms and 30 of them are gone. But they won't talk about the 30 that are gone, which is like a miracle that they've wanted to go for ages. They'll talk about the 20 that are still there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay to bring up what's still going on. But if you constantly focus on the negative, will you ever become healthy? In my experience, no.
Mm-hmm. That is very true. Welcome. Is that I can't see on my Atomic Ray? Thank you for joining. I'm in Maryland, so we're not far from you. And Marakita, thank you for joining again. Appreciate you. we talked about this too, about when it comes to what you're adding and what you're eating, and like adding and what you're bringing to your life instead of what you're eliminating. And I think that's like almost the reverse of it, right? Talk about what you have, the differences you feel and how much better you feel. Write down, your energy level. And it's very difficult because we have so many years of programming
Yeah.
that it's almost like that's the way people like connect in the world. That's what we've been taught to do, that we don't want to be in too good of a zone. People will think, oh, you're bragging or you're too good, like you keep talking about how great everything is, like I think we've been conditioned to bring ourselves underneath the level of the person we're talking to and put ourselves down. And it's really sad that happens. But I think we have to like be aware of it and catch ourselves, because that self-talk, that I'm trying to do this but not doing it, is so difficult to overcome, because of just it's been a lot that we've been taught and things that have gone in our heads since we were children. So now that we're aware of it, it's up to us to want to own our health and want to change our life, and to realize that there are people that are just waiting to encourage you. And we are two of those people here, just waiting to be in your corner, and make sure that you have all the tools you need. Because it's not just everybody around you. It starts in here with you believing it, but it really helps a lot if you don't put yourself in environments, especially in the beginning, that are gonna not allow you to have that space.
And I think starting slow is good because a lot of people are coming from dense, heavy energies. A lot of people, most people have been through a lot. So it can be a matter of each day just waking up and saying one thing good about yourself. Um, Feel free to come to my page and talk about how good you are anytime you like. I'm all for that. I think the more we uplift ourselves, we uplift those around us. And it's just like, I want people to create a lens for themselves of love. And that only can come from where you start with what you have. Like, with all I've been through in my life, what my darkest times are my greatest because I got so much strength from doing them. But I had to see that I was good, that I am love, that I have something to offer. And the more I did that, to be honest, where I got most of this from is the more time I spent in nature. It's like I could just see myself reflected back. And that necessarily doesn't even have to be getting outside. It can be by a window, sitting next to a plant. But it's quite incredible the power that we hold that we can sometimes not see when we watch online. We lose a lot of our power because anything can flash up. Although we think we have control, anything can come on the screen. And, we start to judge ourselves. But I find like when I'm around nature or animals, I'm getting fresh air, going for a walk. It's like I see love everywhere. And the more I fill myself with that, the more I have creative power, I have health. Um, and yeah, I just don't think we think as a society, we've grown up to kind of think the answer comes from an expert, right? And a lot of experts are dealing in disease. So we go down rabbit holes of people telling us that this disease never leaves our body, this disease gives us trauma, this disease, whereas that never healed me. And no surprise. What did is the more time I spent getting to know myself outdoors and I could
Mhm.
just free myself. And I think instead of going, and even if you're in a lot of communities or groups or meetup groups for a disease, is what if the three closest friends, you guys met up and just spent time talking about all the great things about yourself? Just change the narrative, and make it a journey of self-discovery, because healing is a journey. It's not a cure. There's no like, and that's why I think a lot of people keep coming with new problems, is it's a constant like unraveling, but look how far you've come. Um,
Mhm.
Instead of being like, I have this and there's like this block that you can't get past, it's like, I have that, I have this, but look what I can create. Look what I can do.
Yeah, and a lot of things also, we were mentioning this last time, is briefly the internal thermostat that we all have. And I think it's like something that is positioned inside of us that we can only go this far, or a lot of fear is involved, like this is too good to be true. What if, something else goes wrong? And it's like almost we have to remind ourselves that it's okay to feel good. I remember
Yeah.
saying when I first like started experiencing the back pain after all those years, like 18 years, it was starting to disappear. I was almost looking for it. Like it was an old friend. Like, wait, I've been, this has been part of my daily routine of dealing with this, and then it's gone. So it's almost like you have to learn to remember, like, wow, I'm feeling really good now. I'm allowing myself to feel good and start to really go with that. And you'll get very used to it very quickly, because it's not like you don't want to say goodbye to that friend, but you have to be careful to not start self-sabotaging again, and because that's all
Yeah.
you've ever known. And like,
Yeah.
you were saying that about, start talking about the good things.
Yeah, it reminds me of so I went into severe back and pelvic pain when I was about 16, and it got worse and worse. And that was where the surgeries were, all the surgeries I had around my pelvis, a lot of them, most of them. And this went on for years, and I was in pain, and I missed school. And then I tried to do university, and there's more hospitals, and it just went on and on. And I think I was like 22 when another surgeon finally found this second piece of uterus they cut out, and he showed me the photo. He's like, we haven't seen this before. It's congenital. You were born with it. I carried that photo in my handbag, in my bag for months, because I had to believe it was real. Like the pain went. I was
Mhm.
pain free once they took it out, but I couldn't believe it was gone. I don't know when I ended up not doing it, but it shows how much I needed something physical at that time to just represent what I'd been through, which probably slowed me processing it. But I think for me at that time, it was something I needed to do. But we really hold on to things, is what I'm saying. They cut it out, and I carry a photo around
Right,
with me. So
right.
like and that's a really good example of, because it's clear cut, right? But most people are walking around holding that photo, right?
Yes, and I
They're
think
not.
you're
They don't have the photo. They're holding on to their
in their
disease.
in their brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think that's one of the things. We have to create new memories with this new lifestyle and this new food.
Yes.
And you have to remember where we've been, only so that we can remember that we had all this strength inside of ourselves to do and accomplish anything, and to be able to maybe relate to others who are struggling, and not ever forget that. It's not saying you have to forget who you were, because it's all part of your journey, but it's also a big thing to start making memories with your new lifestyle. Like for me, now that it's been, not that long compared to how long maybe other people have been plant-based or vegan, or raw vegan, but in 6 years I already have memories, like nostalgic memories of when I first went raw, and being in the kitchen and creating that salad and listening to those videos and discovering all of this. That you have to start carrying that on with you, and then it starts to detach you from that life only. But like, remember, everything is inside of you to do anything. It's already in there, because look at what you've already accomplished. Just the fact that maybe if you are in the middle of the struggle now, there is, hope on the other side. So stay with it, continue the process, just keep eating the raw food, like, keep feeling good. And just take your time on the journey, though, because everybody goes at a different pace, and everybody can get their head out of their illness at a different pace. But I would just start to encourage you, do one little thing each day. I love what you said about just, writing down one good thing, and what's feeling better, every day, instead of the other way around.
Yeah, and I think what you touched on there with the creating new memories. So, excuse me, when I was really sick, I spent a lot of time at psychiatrists and psychologists. So once a week, this is for chronic pain, is I would go in and sit down and talk nonstop in depth about my problems. But before you get to that session, you think about what you're going to say when you get there. And then when you leave, you think more about it. And it comes up a few times during the week, right? So that is like a huge chunk where I'm sitting in this density. thinking about like, and this isn't like going in and specifically I've been through a traumatic event and I want to fix it. This is ongoing. So we're really solidifying here my problem even deeper than it already was. Then when I healed, um, I lived and noticed that I couldn't heal. Yes, raw foods got me up, but nature and being outside let me write a new me. And the more I wrote with walks and flowers and ocean water and sunlight, I was reinventing who I was. And instead of being indoors, sitting in another room and talking about my past and solidifying that and trying to think my way out of it, I really find living. Living is like, especially when you're eating raw foods, because you literally plug into this electrical system. You know, you're electric already and you get outside and you can really create this new life. And if you're going through something, that doesn't take away that psychology and psychiatry can help with specific events. But if you have something ongoing and you keep turning up 4 years talking about the same thing, I healed so quickly in living. And I
Hmm.
think that is, yeah.
Oh, I was just agreeing along. I totally agree
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you
yeah.
there. I don't know if you can still hear me. Does my sound go out? Or you can
Yeah,
still
no,
hear
no,
me?
no. I can
Okay.
hear. I'm just reading some of the comments. The more
Okay.
you focus on
I didn't
pain,
know
this
if
is
you were
so
like moving
true.
closer at first because you couldn't hear my sound was going in and out before we started. So I was just gonna say too, I agree with you with the mental
Yes.
health, for sure, because the I was, I've experienced, I've mentioned in the past, OCD, and I was in a group even on Facebook, and I just had to put it away because it's like
Yeah.
some of these things were starting to go away where I wasn't thinking about it every day. So it wasn't part of my daily life. But when you go back and you're reading other people's struggles, until you're strong enough to do that, it's very important. I agree with you to just move away from it and start, instead of saying, what can I not do? It was like, what can I do without having that interrupt my life, and just, push through it, because the more you do, the more it gets easier to just be yourself again.
Yeah. It's, I actually, when I've worked with people and coached them and they've come from being extremely sick, where their life is literally bed and a computer, like mine, where you have the outlet of a group. And a lot of them can't be in these groups or even talk to close friends online anymore because they never realized how heavy the energy was
Hmm.
until they got well, and they just felt so horrible. And they were like, this person doesn't stop talking about sickness. And it's a reminder that when you are that dense, and that has to do with like food, and to me, that's like a huge starting point. And then you can't get up because you're so dense and unwell that you're just indoors and you're not getting any kind of light or healing or electrical energy. But also this, where the more you focus on pain, the stronger it gets. 100%. That's why distraction techniques work. You know, even with little kids who have a fall, and if you say, "Come on, we're going to go now, and we're going to go play with the dog or something," they stop crying. Like they may
Hmm.
still have pain, but you've moved their focus. And the more
That's
we
a good
sit,
example.
yeah, and we run in a group of people who constantly talk about pain, we can feel it. The brain can literally relive things. That's what post-traumatic stress is. So it really shows. um so yeah. um I was going to say, so this
Yeah.
creative art heart said, I worked with a coach who was raw vegan for years and then switched to high raw. He said the issue is dehydration. So if you do mostly raw and like a cooked soup, it heals. I would love to know your thoughts. So my thoughts on that are, back to the greatest healer in the world is the person who's healing, because it's not really the coach and it's not really the food, it's your body that's going to heal. And I moved away from cooked foods, very, even it was steamed foods, because I couldn't get up. And I probably believe I could probably function now with a bit of cooked food, but I don't want to go there. So as for healing, is I think the best judge of somebody is to go up on levels of raw food and feel the power it has, and then feel the contrast. Don't listen to the coach. The coach should be telling you to listen to your body. as opposed to go, don't have this, don't have that. That's kind of where we're coming from, right? Is this is getting us back to being like the all the millions and billions of animals out there that do this every day themselves, and we've been told most of our life what to do. It's better off that you feel you. That's the thing, is if you need to listen to them, go and listen to your body more, because like you've got a really good example of this, JJ, because you went back to the cooked food and you learnt, and now you
Mhm.
know, right? So do you, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think we were talking about it one week. I was like, in this particular season, I've realized that every time I went to cooked food, and I guess sometimes I'll say high raw because we've mentioned I'm not going to not eat uh, walnuts if I can't find them completely raw. But for the most part, I do not cook any food, anything that really needs to be prepared as far as heated. I'm not eating cooked food in that way. So I think I thought like several times during my journey, I needed to go to cooked food because at one point I thought I needed a higher omegas, let's say. And then the other time I couldn't maintain weight, I was losing too much weight in the very beginning. I went to cook food, rice, potatoes, and things like that. But it always moves me into a direction of salt and then needing salt and then back into, oh, let me just try some processed food. And it kept leading me to that, to where all of a sudden now my feet were swelling, which is something that wasn't even going on before I went vegan. Because I think we think, oh, it's vegan food, it's okay. But each time I was able to then return to raw food, because I get to a point where I'm like, I'm sluggish, I'm not as creative, I'm not as productive, my energy's low, I'm picking up weight, and I'm also feeling bloated, and my stomach, my digestion. And like in the beginning, it's okay, but then that wears on you after a month of the cooked food. I always feel like, I'm just blah. So I started finding creative ways to get whatever it was that my body was telling me I needed and keep it within the realm of raw, whether I had to add avocados or nuts and seeds, to my smoothies or whatever it was I was doing. It seems that now I've finally crossed that barrier, but sometimes you have to figure it out on your own. Saying all that to say, listen to your body. If your body is telling you, I want to try this, I think I'd be better at high raw because I'm going all the way back to, a diet full of things that aren't serving me. If I don't keep that balance, I would do it. And then you might start singing that, some days I'm going to go fully raw and, oh, I feel better on that day. And then you say, okay, well, why I'm feeling better with the all days of all raw, and figuring out a way to do it. But like Skye said, a coach is there to help guide you to discover what you already have inside of you. So I think it's important that if you think that would help you, and if I think the part about the dehydration, maybe he was thinking they weren't drinking water, or maybe I'm not sure, but either way, like, yeah, I would say definitely if you respect them and want to try that method, then that's great. But I don't think anybody should really consistently tell you, this is, like Skye said, what you should or shouldn't do. I can't say whether it would be better to do that. I've heard people say going high raw has eased that like restriction in their brain, and being happy is a
Yeah.
big part of this, and enjoying it. So whether you heal something, if you're at a point, like I think we both always say, if you're ready to heal something that's really serious and you need to get it done right away, that's maybe when I would stay fully raw. Otherwise, move into it slowly.
Yeah. That's sorry, I'm just reading what Koala Mama said here. I agree that the more flexibility you feel you can have is a great thing, but the more trust and confidence you have in yourself, is like that takes away that anxiety and stress. But also, yeah, so Koalam said it depends. For healing. For heart failure, I had to be totally raw for 4 months. For cancer, it was just very high raw and low fat for the adrenals. And I know people as well, this is the other thing, who have gone really, really high raw, like juiced for years, a lot of juice, a lot of fruit, and then they can't digest sugars or fats, and they have to then have like cooked quinoas and and cooked potatoes. So there's definitely that there. But yeah, it's always good to feel, because even if you do have more cooked food for a period of time and you're not getting the healing you want, it's not really going to send you back as long as you're not having lots of processed food. You can always go back up onto the raw, and then you like learn what works for you. So Creative Heart said here that he wasn't saying you couldn't do all raw, but he said there is flexibility. Yeah, I think each person will know, like, learn their flexibility. And like even you, JJ, in like 5 years' time, you might be able to handle randomly having some cooked food.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think it's more about finding the love in, like, I found that I just love raw food. And if you can find an abundance of it and you're not feeling like you're giving up anything, if you can lean into the foods you really like and say, you know what, I'm going to allow myself to eat those, to experience the raw food and what it does for me, it takes that away from I'm having to give up this and I have to give up that,
100%.
move towards what you really enjoy. Like when you have fruit for lunch, does that make you feel good and you enjoy it? Then keep reaching for that. If you're consistently thinking about I'm giving this up, don't live miserably, because our mindset is so important. We want to be at a point where you love raw food and you figure out a way within that, whether that means you do add some periods of cooked food or not, you find a way to love a lifestyle that's serving your health.
Because when you love the lifestyle is you. You're loving you even more. So, and this is a good one. We're kind of going a little off the side here, but this plus soups are easy to digest compared to other cooked foods, but it's easy to make raw soup. So my winters, I have denser foods. And my winters are not even that cold, but I loved getting like cut up sweet potato, lemon juice. These recipes are on my website, by the way, rawskye.com. Sweet potatoes, some lemon juice, I think some bell peppers, garlic, maybe a little bit of coconut, and I think I blend that up, and you blend it so it's warm. So the interesting thing about raw food is that the temperature that we can heat it to is the temperature the rest of the world are eating their cooked food. So you warm that up slightly. So we cook food at like what, 150, 200 degrees, whatever we cook it at, but it has to
Mhm.
cool down before it goes in our mouth, and we eat it in our mouth at the temperature we're allowed to eat the warm food that's raw. So the brain doesn't know a difference when you put it in your mouth. And when I was having these like cooked these warmed soups in the Vitamix, I think you blend it for like 3 or 4 minutes or something, that soup that I'm just talking about. Oh my God, I couldn't tell the difference. And it was so yummy. So, and I felt so good. So there is ways, and you're right, is I just feel so good when I have raw foods and my memories of cooked are not so great. So I gravitate towards and I've made a novelty of it. Like when I get a craving, I think, how can I make this raw? And that my
Yeah.
brain's ticking over and I get excited, like, how am I going to do this? Um, because I love it.
Absolutely. And I find that a lot of stuff, like, especially if you allow your taste buds that little bit of time to change in the beginning, maybe it wouldn't be that way. But for me, when I had this almond milk and strawberry smoothie the other day, it tasted just like a kid having that sugary strawberry milk
Yeah.
or milkshake. Like, it really doesn't, to me, like, taste any different. Like, if I was always eating processed vegan or even regular, I'm sure that might not be the case right away, but it really does get you to a point where you get excited about these foods. Like, I really legitimately am excited about the same exact salad almost every single evening. I get this little burst of excitement, like, oh, I get to, you know, eat that. Or like the fruit that I had, like this cantaloupe I just had, it was unbelievably good. We had nectarines yesterday. So it's like I've gotten to a point where I'm like giddy about what I'm eating. So I don't feel like I'm giving anything up or missing out, because you have to just do those little habits every day and find what you really like. I wouldn't suggest just eating a bunch of fruit you don't like, or, we're brought up, we've even said this before, to say if it tastes good, it's not good for you. And the minute somebody tells you you can't have something, you start wanting it. So don't,
Yes.
no one's ever told me I can't have any cooked food. This has just been like something that I've, came up with. I saw this thing. I'm like, I'm going to try this experiment. And it felt so good, similar to your experience. That's probably why we can identify on it, is it was just like, that was making me feel good. So I kept doing it. No one
But
around
also,
me was doing it. I didn't even
it's
barely have any online communities. So it was like, it was all my feelings.
and those feelings represent the love that you have for yourself. So if you get up and you love seeing the sun, and then you love your smoothie, and then you love your walk, and then you love, I don't know, meeting up with a friend, is you are literally sitting in love all the time. You love your life. So the more you put blockers in and you start going, oh, the sun's in my eyes. Oh, I've got to make that smoothie. Oh, I've got to meet up with my, I don't know, your family or something, and you're not in love. So
Mhm.
that's why, remember, I've spoken before how I have this dream of creating these like places that people go to heal, and they disconnect from everything they knew to find themselves, because that's what I did to heal myself, because I was not connected to anyone. I could barely read or write, and so I had to really discover the things that were available, which was nature and food. And the more I loved those choices, those lifestyle choices, like what I did during my day and what I put in my body, is I found me. And so I think it's really important, if you're getting up and you're not finding love or like with something you're doing, there's something that is not serving you, and to look somewhere else. And whether that's in food, or whether that's the exercise you're doing, or whether it's even where you live, we get stuck thinking we have to stay where we are when we actually have more choice than we think. We've put ourselves in a little
In a
box, and
box.
we want you to get out of the box.
Agree. And I feel like we look at things so interestingly. I've done this many times too. We look at something as this option or this option, and there's always that little third option that can swing in there. Maybe somebody from a different perspective can share it with you if you can't even see it for yourself. But if you really step outside and always look at what would be the third option to this, and it's like, oh, but a lot of people just go in and out like it's not working, but there was something missing, that you weren't getting on this diet or in your mindset, that could just one little shift in perspective, one little alignment twist could change your life, but we have to be careful that we're not saying that we don't really believe it's going to work, so we find a way for it not to. And I think we have to be really careful with that, bringing it all the way back to stop owning disease. When we're used to something, we're like, it's almost a comfort zone that you want to try it, but it's not going to work. And that's why we just have to really set out to want to heal, I think, first and foremost, and believe that it's possible, and allow yourself every little change to believe that you are experiencing healing and you can. And like for years, I heard the body can heal itself, the body can heal itself. But one day, until it clicked about getting a cut on, your hand and letting it not continuing to manipulate the cut in any way, it will heal itself. And all of a sudden that
That's
clicked to
very
me
true.
when I heard that, even though I'd heard that for years, after experiencing my own healing, diving into like researching cellular healing and what goes on in the body, understanding our systems, like everything that we have, all these inanimate objects, people know, like a car, like there's nothing else. They could fix any part of a car. They know how it runs. Oh no, that's your oil tank coming down here. Forgive me, I'm not a mechanic, but it's like our own body. When I started studying it, I realized it truly is just trying to keep me alive. And any symptoms I'm feeling is it trying to rescue that part and bring it back into homeostasis. So when I started putting things in my body like that to make it easier on it, and realizing it's working with me, not against me, that started to open up that mindset of healing and understanding why I healed and why other people can heal, but maybe why it's at a different rate, because maybe your cut is different than someone else's. But eventually our body really was designed to do that without intervention. It's trying to get back to normalcy. And I think when we move out of its way and start putting in better foods that are more aligned to our natural design, I think that's why we can heal, but also it's even on another level now because I totally believe it. I've seen so many other people heal. I've had my own experience. I've seen your experience, and I've understand why underneath of that. It's not just mystical. It's really like science based. Not, it depends what science you listen to, of course, but the actual natural design of science that I'm talking about, like our human body.
That's right. It's once again bringing that focus onto all the things that the human body can do. Because, like, I was even thinking when you were talking how my dad, I mean, he went to, I don't know, I don't know exactly. So he's in his 70s now, and he went to university in his 20s and he did tax and accounting, right? So he's retired now. But you bring up something to do with finance or money, and his brain can literally default back into spewing off
Mm-hmm.
copious amounts of information
That's
and
cute.
on taxation. And that's what we do with disease, right? Is we go in and we start healing and we love our life, but something triggers us or we see something and we default. But we don't want everyone defaulting constantly back to that, what they've learned in their past. And I just think some of the greatest things, as we've mentioned, is being around people who are uplifting, doing things which are uplifting, finding things that work for you, getting out in nature, creating new memories. Is we want to move away from the mindset that we owned during illness, because it does not serve us when we're well. So if you look at very successful people who have health, and even if they haven't had health for a period but now they're doing well, is their mindset is very different than a sick person's. So it's more worthwhile, although like you're saying, you can learn a lot from anatomy, physiology that can help you, is also spend time watching what people do and act who have a healthy mindset in life, that
Mm-hmm.
you think have a healthy mindset, because that's the goal, right? We want to we might get rid of a bump or an ache or a cut, but we need the mindset to match. Otherwise we'll just get the bump or the cut or the disease back.
Very true. I like that. Yeah, it's so true. And I think when it comes to our, I've had to learn that about the brain also. It's also trying to work with you. So it's trying to make you feel comfortable with whatever information you're feeding it. And I think that that's what happens a lot of time. If our brain doesn't have our, if we're not wrapped around, we're going to heal and we're going to love ourselves and we're going to put good things in, and we're not going to get really down on ourselves if we have a setback or eat something that we didn't want to, and we're continuing to love ourselves even through mistakes and continuing to look at how you're showing up and the processes you're following, and little things add up and those kind of things. We have to get in that positive mindset, because also our brain, if it figures out, you know, we can't lie to ourselves sometimes. So if we're faltering on that healing, our brain will find a way to bring that into our life. So I think we need to continue to feed that algorithm, good thoughts, continue to stay just really in as much as you can in a positive zone, but also allow yourself to feel the downs too. We're not ignoring them. We're going to like just absorb them for a second, feel them just like you would catch a softball in a glove, and then just move forward, throw that away and try to just move on. But don't ignore these things, because I think they can add up too. If you're not feeling happy in the diet or the lifestyle, you'll find a way out of it. So find a way to enjoy it.
Also, I think when you feel down, so I'm someone, whenever I get thoughts or feelings or addictive tendencies come up or old ways come up, I always think, what is my brain trying to do? Because its job is for us not to be in pain. It's pleasure seeking. Even if that sounds addictive, is it wants us in a situation where we're not feeling pain. Pain will push us out of where we are into something new. So when something comes up, I'm like, I might have a craving for salt. I know. So I might have a craving for something which I think doesn't serve me. And I'll say, what is my body trying to tell me? It's asking that. I don't sit there and be like, this is addiction. This is bad. I did this to myself. I need to clean myself. I'm like, my brain obviously wants something. okay, let's try adding some sodium to some veggies because it's sending me, let's say, old messages of pizza or something, which is a lot of calories very quickly with a lot of sodium. And essentially with sodium usually comes minerals as well. So I'm giving it the salt and the minerals, and half the time that works. But it wouldn't have worked if I sat there and punished myself.
Mm-hmm.
Which I know a lot of people do. And that's just one example. And that's why I think creating recipes for me has really worked on my health journey, because my body is actually asking for something. I want to get that clear. The brain is not doing it to punish us. It's doing us, everything it does is to get us to be at our best health or an equilibrium, homeostasis. And so by me mimicking, like even if I mimic making a pizza, which usually if I have cravings over the next few days, it doesn't stop bugging me until I do that. And it's teaching the brain there's another way to get what it wants. And over time, most of my cravings come through as something raw. And so I really urge everyone to, instead of beating yourself up, is ask, what does my brain want of me? Because it does not. Its job is not to harm you. It's actually to move you forward. I just wanted to also mention how strong the brain is. Like, we're not always asking, the brain isn't always asking for something physical. Sometimes it's comfort. And I'll give you an example of the power of the brain and why we usually crave things. So, the brain, it's not just about the food and getting nutrients. It can be, but it's also about the emotion that comes with it. And a lot of the time I talk about this is, just say you've always had, when I was younger in summer, I had bolognese on a Sunday night at my grandma's. That involves a weekend away from school, probably with friends and neighbors, running around all day, being very grounded, lots of loves and hugs from family. And then you finish it off with the best time with something that tastes good. Now, the power of the emotion and the comfort and the memory that creates, I already know that, but there's a reminder when something, for example, I'll eat something, and I might get a bit of reflux from it. So whatever I've eaten has sat in a bit of acid. And as it comes up, it lights up some old pathway of food, of cooked type food, which I haven't experienced in a long time. Doing raw vegan food, this can happen too, but I find this may sound strange, but when you get reflux, you're adding a lot of acid to
Mm-hmm.
something. So it can really light up an old memory that you have not ignited since going raw. And not the food memory for me comes up, but the actual time I spent, whatever occurred as I ate that. And I think when we change how we eat completely, the brain can be seeking um, serotonin, dopamine, emotion connection, not just something physical. But first and foremost, keep those ideas open when you get sent a craving. Like, are you going through something really hard? And this is where I know, for me, raw vegan recipes are amazing, because I get to slot myself back into a pizza memory, which is, it's almost like being back there. Or I think a lot of the time you'll find adrenal symptoms if you're needing something physical, where you'll be a little bit pale. You'll notice that you're getting what do you call, goosebumps easily. You might feel drained. You might look in the mirror and you're white. They're all like physical things that may come up before you actually get a craving for something you need. And I'm saying here, it can be, I saw vitamin C come up in the comments. It can also be that, you want something which has got a high amount of vitamin C. People might have got up and had Barocca for years. All of a sudden you're craving fizzy drink, and you're looking pale, and it's vitamin C that you need, like some citrus. But a lot of my life, and I love doing it, that's, I guess, why I'm a health coach, right? I love thinking through these processes, but
Yes.
they're just some things to keep in mind, and not to punish yourself and just sit there and belt yourself up like you did something wrong in the past, that your body and brain actually are asking something of you.
I think that's so intriguing that J&J Video Reacts Dawn actually came into the chat, because this is a conversation that is so meaningful, what you just said, and what we have, been on this journey together, for the most part, in and out of, raw vegan. And I remember her, like, she would always crave salt. And I remember one day it kind of like shifted the perspective, because she has a really strong mindset. She probably knows more about keeping a strong mind. She's been through so much than I do, but I just like know the nutrition side and have some psychology side. So when we talk, like literally we sound like we're always doing a podcast around here. But like it's like the other, when I said that, I said, well, I learned there was a sodium potassium pump. So you, when you go raw, you're still drinking a lot of water. She's was, you know, drinking, trying to do like a gallon, I think, a day, and she was eating all these fruits, all these vegetables full of potassium. I'm like, your body is craving salt, and that's okay, because if you were trying to do all fruit, maybe that means you now need celery, and you need to have that salad that you were trying to maybe avoid, and saying like my mind wants to eat all fruit. But and she's just like so flowing on this right now. Like she's been raw for I think longer than she's ever been, and is really enjoying it and loving it, having all this energy, eating the fruit during the day, having the salad at night is really balanced for her. And like yesterday she didn't have the salad, but like when you need it, like your body is telling you something. It's not always the craving for the processed food, in a sense. Like once you're raw for a little while, I totally agree with what you said. And that's that third option, right? People are like, I'm craving this, I'm wrong, I need to keep my mind strong. And it's like, what way can you find a way to make that raw? And your recipes are a perfect example of that, because in the midst of getting that, you're probably going to get that nutrient that you were looking for, because it's usually in the recipe, if you think about it. Possibly like if you're craving fat and you have a fattier, you know, recipe, like people are always scared of seeds and nuts and like, you know, an avocado. And it's like in the beginning, the important thing is you're eating 200% healthier than you've probably ate in your previous diet. So whatever you need to do to get through and stay raw, obviously I'm not saying eat like, you know, 40 pounds of nuts, but like there are balances for that. And sometimes when you find that you've been eating healthy and you might just need a few sunflower seeds or whatever it is, and you're going to feel satisfied, that craving's going to go away, and you're going to sit in that instead of making yourself feel bad and depriving yourself. I am like, I love everything you said, and I'm very proud of you, Dawn. So thank you for staying with it. I can see all the positive changes.
That's amazing. Go Dawn. That's amazing. I actually, this is so important, and it feeds into Creative Heart's question about why do you think so many raw vegans are anti-salt. So the first time I tried to add salt back, I was on an extremely high fruit, high carb diet with maybe half an avocado at night. So I'm eating basically sugar and water, and I'm running my body in a carbohydrate way. And this came up, I didn't even know that this was a thing, but the body is so amazing. So I saw the Vegetable Police. He did a video on how when he was on low carb, he's like, because I'm not having all the carbohydrates, my body's not holding on to the salt now. So when I was on this high carb diet, I literally blew up. I did really well adding sodium back in, and all of a sudden I'm
Yeah.
swollen. And all these raw vegans who don't like salt keep saying, it bloats you, it's an addictive thing, but most of them are on high carbohydrate diets. Now, let me read you this. I didn't even know this was a thing, but thanks for the Vegetable Police. Okay, here's AI has scanned the internet, mined the internet for us. So on a high carbohydrate diet, the body tends to retain more salt due to higher insulin levels. Insulin, in addition to its role in regulating blood sugar, signals to the kidneys to reabsorb the sodium, and this will increase the salt retention and essentially increase the fluid retention. Um, so, and it also says on the low carbohydrate diets, there's increased, sorry, in contrast, on low carbohydrate diets, there is lower insulin levels, and in a result of this, there is higher sodium excretion. So I am on a low carbohydrate diet at the moment. I have so much sodium on everything, and my adrenals and my functioning and my focus is so much better. And that's my journey. When I was on high carbohydrates, if I had salt, literally I'd go to put my clothes on, nothing would fit, to the point where I would hold so much fluid. And I think it's because my journey, my weak adrenals are so bad that I couldn't even get to the bathroom. I was holding so much fluid. The weight on my body was tremendous. And then I joined the bandwagon of like salt is poison. But in truth, it's really helping me now. And that, I don't believe everyone on a carbohydrate diet has the extent that I have, but I was on ADHD stimulants for like um 10 years and I still couldn't get up out of bed. Like I was in a bed for 10 years. So I've got really weak adrenals, and doing the high omega-3 diet with little bits of fruit and veggies and like as much salt as I like. So it's salt to taste. Like I eat and feel completely satisfied, no cravings. And I think my body was asking for salt. I was always craving veggies and salt when I was doing high carbohydrates. And then I would try and add it in and think salt was bad.
Mhm.
So that's my little salt spiel. So thanks for bringing that up.
Hope no one's insulted. Get it? You know I
You
had
and
to
your
throw a
puns.
pun in there.
You always do your puns. So that's my take on why a lot of the amount of raw vegans that say that they're addicted to salt and they're trying to
Yeah.
overcome this addiction and they're punishing themselves like they've been bad in the past. And I'm like, it's like saying my brain's got it wrong, when in
Mhm.
fact consciousness is a small part of the brain that we have access to. Yet the whole brain is trying to tell you something right now. And we think that this consciousness, a small part, has got it, knows more than the actual whole physiology of the body. So if your body, like me, eventually you crack. You eventually crack till you find the right. And this is why I feel so blessed when I find my way, because eventually when you give in to what you thought was bad, you're like, oh, there's a different way. And this is very Dr. Brooke Goldner, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a different way. So
I think also when we look at the body as a whole, just like nature as a whole, we can pick apart one specific nutrient or one thing that's happening, and it's something happening. But when you really pan out on your body, it's something overall, that is
yes,
happening. So I think that's really important. I love the way that you allow yourself to listen to your body. And we did a show on this actually about the cravings. I think that's a really good one if anybody wants to hear more about that. Like I think it was maybe 3 podcasts ago, maybe, that we said, what do your cravings really mean? And I thought
yes.
that was so powerful, because it's not always what you think it is. You can listen to your body more than you think. So you might not give it the exact thing it's asking, but the nutrient it's asking for usually will help towards that, getting over those cravings for sure.
I also think we're going back to just as bad as we were before if we're not listening to our body. So we didn't
Hmm.
listen to our body when we're on like a sad, bad diet, and then we get on here, and then people still aren't listening to their body and then
Right.
wonder why they end up sick. It's no different. Is
Yeah.
the whole point, the whole purpose of becoming into alignment and being a raw foodist is that it's our natural diet. And even if there is a bit of food, still being very aware that predominantly having fresh raw foods was what we were originally meant to have. So when cravings come, how can we honor that? And of course, if we can't and people have cooked food, you can still get nutrients. But it's about the more that you listen to your body, the better you're going to do. So
Absolutely. Oh,
um,
I love the crowd we had here. Thank you,
I
everybody.
know. Oh,
Koala
sorry, we've already
Mama,
been talking for an hour. I didn't even
Creative
realize.
Heart, Janika. I probably am saying that wrong, or Janica. Wow, this has been really awesome too. I'm just so excited to hear your wisdom and talk with you, and be
Yeah.
able to bounce these ideas off. It's really something I look forward to.
Do you know what we might do next week? We could do the topic different ways to do raw, like high
Hmm.
carbohydrate. There's the greens, there's the fruit, and because I've done most of them mono meals now, and so we can talk on like all the different ways.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
That because I want people to feel accepted no matter what they do, because you
Hmm.
start to feel judged, and I think there's uh different times of your life you want to do these differently. Like I find benefits in doing it differently all the time, um depending on what my body needs. So I think that would be cool.
That would be awesome. I'm in.
Yay. and I'll be home next week. I'm away at the moment, so I'll be back in my home. And yeah, so thanks for joining, everybody, and thanks, JJ.
You're welcome. I'm okay to if you need a few more minutes. I didn't want to cut off your topic. I just was
Oh,
if you had another meeting, I wanted to make sure I said goodbye to everyone before we rolled out.
well, we can talk about. I feel like if I get started talking on because they're brought up. I've seen in the comments talking about how do you do like a low carbohydrate diet, and I feel like that is just like a lot to get into. It's more than just kind of a an overview. I feel like the body just has different needs depending on the diet that you do. Like I was just saying, I feel like I need more sodium when I'm doing a low carbohydrate diet, making sure you have enough fats. But I actually haven't found that much weight loss, and I don't think I'm eating much at all. But I think that once again, why I want to talk about this, it's off the back of doing raw food for years. I feel like you can't just go into this and you lose a lot of weight, right? So it's like a whole nother topic.
Yeah, and we could talk about sodium on a whole topic too, because
Oh,
I would be curious to know what kind that you're using. I'm sure other people would too. Like, is it foods that have sodium in it or added sodium? What are the different kinds? Like, there's so much to talk about in raw food.
there
I
is.
literally talk about it all day, and I could still not even run out of things to say at night. I'm always still talking about like this stuff. I love it because I think it's like what we love to do. So it makes it easy, right?
That's
Everyone, thank you so much. I mean, thank you, Creative Heart. She said, thank you both. You're so lovely and kind. That was sweet. Thank you. I enjoyed you being here.
There's also,
Marakita.
if anyone's interested, there is a book called The Salt Fix by Dr. James Dinaloke. I can't pronounce his last name. I tried to look it up then to see if I could pronounce it, but it's called The Salt Fix. And it's just really interesting because we'll go into like salt and carbohydrates and stuff next week. But it's just really interesting is a lot of patients who were originally, because a lot of the studies were wrong in that salt causes a whole lot of problems, including, I think, cardiovascular disease and all these sort of things, where a lot of people who have been put on these low salt diets, and when they get towards like end of life care, and all they say is they keep craving salt, and they'll actually put people back on salt, and they'll live longer than it, not huge amounts, just a bit of salt here and there when requested, and they'll actually extend their period of life, or people actually get better. And it's about how we came from the ocean and from fish originally, and a high sodium environment, and we have to make sure we get that. It's not so much about maybe the delivery system of salt isn't as optimal as celery, but it doesn't denote the fact that we actually require
But we
sodium.
do
It's a
require
great
it.
book.
I think that's important. I didn't know that. I've heard, I don't think I read his book, but I've heard, I think, him speak. And it's very interesting to know that, like, I think you mentioned this before an animal in the wild, when they need salt, they'll go find a leaf and seek it out because they know naturally. So like what would make it thinking we didn't know, in a sense.
Yeah.
After I'll get that way, like after a while I eat very low, salt, but then there are times when I'm craving it. So I allow myself to have the salted, maybe a couple of the seeds or a dressing that has some salt. And it's like I went the other way though, too overboard. I find you find this balance for your body, and what you need after a while. In the standard American
Yeah.
diet, we're getting so much processed food, we don't even know how much sodium is in things. And that's why they'll tell people to drink 8 glasses of water or whatever it is a day, but that's based on all this, like, breakfast sandwich in the morning, and fries and burgers for lunch, and this, like, when we're eating all fruit and all vegetables and drinking water or eating water, however people choose to do it, like whatever kind of water you're drinking, usually when you get healthy, you increase your fruits and vegetables, increase your water intake, and you start working out, which is also losing sodium. And then people are like, why am I craving sodium, right? It's like it totally makes sense when you realize that the body has to have a balance with
Well,
the.
it's the hydration key, like you were saying, the sodium potassium pump. So I actually, when I run, don't get thirsty. I actually crave salt because I juice and there's juice there, and then I get dehydrated, and I think just with weak adrenals. And that's, if you've been following my story, there's posts where, because my mast cell activation and histamine issues meant that I couldn't get the sodium in. I react to everything. The more omega-3s I have, the more I can get in things I never thought possible. And I was drinking ocean water because it was more in balance and my body didn't react to it. So like an animal, we get to a point where the body will do whatever it needs. I'm in the ocean a lot. Since getting sodium back in, my body doesn't, I've got to get to the water. I've got to get to the water, because you absorb the minerals through your skin. It goes up your nose, in your mouth, in your eyes. And so your body's back ending it, like as in like instead of eating it. But yeah, animals who don't technically eat meals of salt, you can find for periods, lick it off rocks, eat all very strange things. And that's about getting in touch with your body. But there's just that sodium one, just being as sick as I have, like I can get severe, I could go on for salt forever. I can get most of my, I remember being on some of my stimulant medication and I could feel really unwell. And most people, including myself, would usually go to a doctor for it. I knew to have salt, my body would self-correct because it's pushing the adrenals, literally like absolutely thrashing my adrenals. And they're just things that I've learned a lot of the time in my life when something has occurred, whether it's nausea, dizziness, I feel like really off, and you have water and you're still not getting there. Putting a salt crystal before you do anything can actually, the two remedies which I would suggest to anybody, if you have a problem, is trying a salt crystal under the tongue with some water. If not, it's coconut water, and they're minerals.
They have like
So
electrolytes, isn't it?
Electrolytes, yeah, they're got the
Maybe
electron.
minerals. I don't know.
No,
I
well,
just heard about it the other day because I asked about coconut water. Oddly enough, I think it was Don on his
it's the
page.
charge. They're ionized. So they are the minerals that we need, but minerals are always ionized, negative or positive, and we want them in our system charged. So we're electric, and that's like that idea that the raw foods is alive with, it's easier more to assimilate into a body that needs electrons and needs charge, basically, because everything runs off electricity. I mean, you can stick electrodes in a lemon and the light bulb will light up. I mean, and that's what we want in our bodies. It's easiest to assimilate.
That's
Yes,
so
many
cool.
people, I had POTS, so many people do use salt. And when they feel bad, I've literally been through periods where it's like being a junkie, because you've got little bag of crystals, salts, and every time you feel bad, you go have your crystals, and it really helps. So anyway, I've gone off there, but yes, thank you everybody, and
Thank you. I'm gonna go lick the rocks outside real quick. I don't think I've been getting enough sodium. I'm just kidding. I'll take a selfie.
All right, bye guys.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you, Skye. Thank you for letting me come on.
Always. All right, bye.